That day, at Vow's house, it was a special day because Vow's wife had finally gathered with the wives of Soht and Soht after 2 months. During those 2 months, the three men had been strictly forbidden from gambling or drinking alcohol. Today, the three were ready to feast. But though they talked of gathering, the three men had no money, not even a single coin in their pockets. They couldn't understand why the women were so strict this time. But with their determination to drink, they still managed to sneak some money from Vow's wife's savings, which she kept for food. They were a little scared, but at this point, getting drunk was the priority. Vow then told Soht and Soht, "Just go, take the meat to wash, then bring it back and just say you don't know anything. That'll work." The two young men, drooling with anticipation, nodded vigorously like sewing machines and quickly went to prepare. Vow urged them to hurry to avoid the night's mosquitoes. He wiped his drool, his heart pounding with fear that his wife might return unexpectedly. After cleaning, the three men immediately took the meat out to grill. The aroma wafted up, intoxicating. At this moment, the delicious smell of meat made them think of the strong jar of liquor at home. All three could no longer control themselves. Soht then said, "Hey, what are you two doing, acting so thirsty? Calm down a bit." Soht also looked at Soht and retorted, "What the hell are you talking about? Worry about wiping the drool dripping all over your chin, idiot." Soht quickly wiped his chin with his hand, his face slightly flushed, realizing his saliva had been running without him knowing. Soht chuckled and said, "It's been 2 months, I haven't had a single drop of liquor, I'm so thirsty." Vow looked at Soht with a judging eye. Soht and Soht then turned to look at their beloved master and screamed in surprise when they saw a puddle of drool under where Vow was sitting. "Oh my God, master, you're thirsty, but do you have to be like that? I thought you were dying." Vow quickly snapped back, "What the hell are you looking at so closely? What's wrong with me? Mind your own business. Who cares about that? It's obvious, anyone can see it." The three men, busy behind the house, didn't realize that a few people were lurking outside the gate. Vow's wife told her daughter, "Go home, dear, I'm going in now. It's frustrating the market doesn't have coffins today. Let's go again tomorrow, okay?" Her daughter nodded and quickly left. As Vow's wife walked into the yard, she smelled delicious grilled meat and wondered, "Who's grilling meat? It smells so good." Looking around, she realized it could only be from her own house. So she immediately suspected her husband and those two acting suspiciously. She followed the scent to the back, where the three men were standing frozen in their tracks. By then, the meat was cooked. Vow and the two young men immediately picked up pieces. Vow exclaimed, "Oh, it smells so good, doesn't it?" Soht and Soht nodded in agreement. Without further delay, they were about to take the meat inside to eat when a voice, like a thunderclap, rang out. "Ah, this bunch, you've gathered to eat and drink, have you?" Hearing Vow's wife's voice, all three men jumped in shock. Vow's wife immediately became enraged when she saw the familiar piece of meat Soht was holding in his hand, and she grew even angrier. "You wretched boys, I told you to save that for dinner, and now you dare to take it out to feast? You'll know my wrath now, come here, you'll die." The three men immediately fled, running for their lives. "Run, run, guys." Vow and the two young men each grabbed a piece of grilled meat and ran. Vow's wife didn't know who to chase, so she kept turning around like a lost soul in the forest. After a while, the three gathered in a patch of grass. Vow winced and muttered, "Damn, if we'd been caught, we'd have gone a good beating. I don't know why that old hag is so fierce today." The two young men also sighed and said, "Good thing we got some meat, a little more liquor, and we could have partied all night." Vow happily turned to Soht. Soht replied with a blank look. Vow asked, "Soht, where's the meat?" Soht stammered, "The meat, It ran away, ran into the bushes by Master's gate." Good heavens. You couldn't even keep hold of the meat? Why did it run away? How are we going to get it back now? That was also the common question of the remaining two. The current problem had become extremely difficult because if they showed their faces, Vow's wife would immediately catch them. Vow then exclaimed, "Oh damn it, if we go back now we'll get caught, maybe even broken bones. What should we do now, boys?" The two young men shook their heads, bewildered. While they were searching for a solution, one found it. "I'm Kai, old man Vow's dog." Soht saw the dog and thought for a moment, then suddenly had a brilliant idea. "Ah, you're Kai, aren't you?" Before Soht could say anything more, Soht pulled out a small piece of meat. Soht smiled shyly and said, "I tore this off earlier, planning to eat it myself, but I didn't get a chance. Now let's use it as our hope for success." Vow and Soht punched Soht, but out of the difficult situation, a plan emerged. The two immediately understood Soht's cunning. They let Kai sniff the meat and then said, "Luckily, we let him smell it like this. Now tell him to go get our stuff. This dog is very smart." Vow was quite surprised, as it was his own dog, but he hadn't realized it was that intelligent. Oat stroked the dog, showed it the average piece of meat, and then Kai immediately dashed off. But 15 minutes passed, and nothing. Their hope in the dog turned to despair. Soht immediately cursed. "Damn it, who did we hope in?" "Hoping in a dog, aren't we miserable?" Vow whispered to Oat. "Is it really going to work? I don't think this is reliable." Oat was anxious, not understanding why the dog hadn't returned yet. At that moment, in the bushes next to Vow's gate, Kai was struggling to pull something out. After a while, Kai managed to pull something out and rushed towards them. The three, watching from afar, saw the dog running back, and hope surged back. Kai now seemed like an almighty being, a deity, a hero coming to their rescue. The three watched the dog biting something and drooling. Vow wiped his eyes and said, "Oh, Kai, having you in my life is truly a blessing and wonderful, Kai." Soht also said emotionally, "I've never seen such a beautiful dog as this one." Oat stammered, too overwhelmed to speak, but suddenly he noticed something strange. He narrowed his eyes at the running dog and stammered, do you too see anything strange?" "What's strange? What do you mean? I just think the dog is wonderful today. Master's dog is the second smartest. No one dares claim to be the first." Oat's voice was filled with a bitter tone as he told the two to look at the dog again. Indeed, the dog was holding something in its mouth, a piece of meat. But what was weird was that behind it, dozens, even hundreds of black flies were swarming, and as they got closer, Oat recognized what they were. The distance was very close, and they could even hear a familiar buzzing sound. Oat mumbled, "What's flying after it?" Vow and Soht also gradually turned from being overwhelmed to feeling a chill, seemingly having recognized the abnormality. Vow turned to Oat and asked, what's that flying after the dog?" Oat, still bewildered, didn't know, then something landed on his arm. Oat looked down, swallowed, and then looked up at the other two. Oat forced a smile that couldn't have been more awkward. Master, I think those are bees." As Oat finished speaking, the dog reached them. In its mouth was an entire beehive and not ordinary honeybees. Vow's eyes widened. "Hey, what the hell, run! Damn you, you wretched dog, why did you bring a whole beehive here?" The three men frantically ran in all directions, and the more they ran, the more the bees chased them. Finally, they had to find ways to escape. One lay flat on the ground, one stood stiffly and let the bees sting, and one jumped into a stagnant pond. These methods somewhat worked. The effect here was that the three men didn't get stung badly enough to be hospitalized. But considering they were all covered in stings, it was lucky these bees were docile and not venomous. When the bees finally left, Vow's face was swollen to twice its normal size, his eyes swollen shut. He tried to open them wide but couldn't see anything. His lips were puffed up like blossoming flowers. He looked at Oat and tried to say a few words, but his voice was distorted and unclear. "Damn you, who did you trust? You trusted a dog, you're even dumber than that dog." Oat was in a similar state, trying to speak but couldn't. Every time he tried to move his lips, the pain was excruciating, making him feel like fainting. When Vow returned home, his wife was about to give him a good scolding, but seeing him so badly stung, she quickly rushed him inside and applied various herbal remedies. His anguished cries echoed throughout the house. Rot asked about Oat's health many times that day. At this time in the city, where Mr. Com, Oat's uncle, lived in a certain house, some strange ghostly occurrences had recently appeared. Com, the homeowner, occasionally felt as if 4 people were in his house. At first, he thought he was just mistaken or hallucinating. But one day, when Rot, Mrs. Nat's husband, was home alone, he saw a shadowy figure standing sluggishly in the house when he looked in from outside. At that moment, he rushed in to check, but the figure disappeared. A chilling gust of wind from the door made him shiver and get goosebumps. Rot didn't dare go deeper inside because the eerie feeling was growing stronger by the minute. He only dared to call out, "Who's in my house?" He was sure it wasn't his wife because Mrs. Nat was at work. Their 5-year-old child was at kindergarten, and Grandfather Dunn, his biological father, was with the Senior Citizens Club. There were no domestic helpers in the house. So, who was the person Rot had just seen? He stood there, wondering, trying to shake off the scary thought. He guessed it must be a thief. He hurried down to the kitchen to grab a rolling pin for defense, then checked the back of the house. Rot didn't see anyone. He mumbled, "Strange, I swear I saw a figure." Shaking off the thought, he went upstairs and sat down, bewildered. He tried to remember if he had been mistaken. He had seen the figure several times, so he couldn't possibly dismiss it as a mistake. The sunlight outside disappeared, and a clear chill seemed to rush in from nowhere. Even though the weather in the city was usually quite warm, it made him feel more scared. He involuntarily looked around his house. The house, usually so familiar, now had an unsettling, chilling atmosphere that ran shivers down his spine. He didn't dare stay at home anymore, so he put on his jacket and went out to call a friend for coffee. At the coffee shop, his friend asked why he looked so pale, like a sick person, even though Rot was perfectly healthy, making him even more perplexed, wondering if there was something wrong with him. Not to mention, sometimes when he came home from work, he'd hear his daughter talking to someone in her room. At first, he thought it was his wife, but when he went in, only the little girl was there. The climax was one night when it was bedtime. He went to the restroom and returned. The door was slightly ajar, casting a shadow inside. The lights were off, with only the light from the outer room shining into a small section, revealing a woman sitting at the head of the bed. Thinking it was his wife, he asked, "Honey, why did you turn off the light so quickly? I haven't even gotten in yet. Don't you want the light on to sleep?" The woman on the bed didn't answer, which made him a little annoyed. "Hey, I'm asking you, why aren't you answering? Now it's bedtime and you're making me upset." Rot reached out to turn on the light to see what her attitude was, when suddenly a voice from behind him said, "What are you doing blocking the door? Aren't you going to let me in?" Mrs. Nat's voice rang out, making him jump and turn around. "Oh my God, when did you get behind me? I just came in from outside. Are you crazy standing behind me?" Then, who's sitting on the bed? "Who said something just now?" Rot was terrified, his legs shaking. He turned back to look at the bed, and indeed there was no one there. He turned pale with fear and stammered, Oh, I thought it was you, the woman sitting on our bed." "What are you talking about? Who's sitting on our bed? Is it Hien?" "No, I saw a woman about my age. It wasn't Hien." "Oh my God, you're making it sound so scary. Why would there suddenly be someone in our house? Did I miss it twice? Am I imagining things? Oh my God, you're scaring me to death. Come inside and sleep. You have to go to work early tomorrow." He nodded and went in, intending to say that, but truly, he was very scared inside because he had really seen a shadowy figure sitting on their marital bed. Now, thinking back, Rot still swallowed hard, trying to look very carefully to identify who it was. Returning to the familiar and handsome, talented Vow's place. Today, Vow, Oat, and Soht had a chance to attend a party where they were sure to drink without worry. Specifically, they were going to Mr. Dew's house for the grand opening. Since its launch, Dew's business had been soaring like a kite in the wind. With money, he wanted to do even more business, finding every way to get rich. And this time, the business he was venturing into was selling coffins. Oat sat and chatted, curious. "What are you selling, uncle? Why coffins? People only buy these when someone dies. How much can you make to get rich?" According to Oat's question, Vow and Soht also clicked their tongues in agreement. Du then said, "What do you mean? What are you selling? It's all about selling. The important thing is knowing how asterisk to sell to make people want to buy. That's the key." The three men looked at each other, impressed. This old man talks sense. They thought and settled in to listen. Du added, "If you three want to, you can invest together." Soht heard that and said, "Is the business profitable yet? We don't have much money, people don't buy many coffins, it takes a long time to break even." Du then slapped his thigh with a loud thwack. "That's why I said you need to know asterisk how to do business. If they buy a little, you have to make them buy a lot. What's that called? Marketing, you fools." Oat, who vaguely recognized the word, still blinked. Mawating, uncle?" "Yes, marketing." Vow also chimed in. Interesting. I've been fighting ghosts and demons my whole life, but I've never encountered a marketing ghost. So what does this ghost look like? What's its voice like?" Du heard that and said, "Oh, no. Marketing is a foreign word. In our language, it's Kwang Kao advertising. It means we promote and introduce what we're selling to people. If they see it's good, they'll buy it. It's not a ghost." The three men, listening to the lengthy explanation, shook their heads and cut straight to the point. "So, uncle, how do you plan to market? How do you make people buy many coffins? It's not instant noodles, you know." Du then said, "Up in the city, they have some great programs. They apply a buy two, get one free program. The more you buy, the more you get." The three men's eyes popped out, looking at Du, their mouths agape, unable to utter a word. Du, somewhat flustered, asked, "Why are you looking at me like that? What's wrong? Isn't the plan great?" Oat turned to Soht, and Soht looked back at Oat. The two men mumbled to each other, "Buy two, get one free? Oh my God." The two still doubted the effectiveness of this plan. Du continued confidently, "I think this promotion is great. They buy a lot, they get a lot. Why wouldn't they buy? Don't you see I've put up a sign outside? Today's grand opening, I'm going big, buy two, get two free, to make it flashy. The other three were even more stunned. Huh, buy two, get two free? Who are they going to use them for? Du replied, that's their business, why ask? If they buy them, they can use them for themselves later, or for their children and grandchildren, who knows? As they were talking, a woman ran over, wailing loudly, my father just passed away, I want to buy a coffin. I heard you're having a grand opening with cheap prices. Du's eyes lit up, and he smiled brightly because his marketing for sales was working. But he momentarily forgot what he was selling, so his expression wasn't quite suitable. Oh, you just want to buy a coffin. Someone just died in your house? If many people die and you buy many, you get more free. We have a buy two, get two free promotion. So how many do you want to buy? The woman, sobbing, was stunned into silence. I'll just buy one. Oh, come on, today's our grand opening, we have a great promotion. Buying just one won't get you any freebies. Buy two to make it worth it. You can just keep them. Later, if your husband or your child or even you pass away, you'll have them saving you money. Just pay for two for me. The woman was taken aback, her heart pounding. She lifted her hand, calculating under her breath. Then she turned and asked, so, if there are 5 people left in my family, how many should I buy to be reasonable? Du was overjoyed. Oh, your family just lost one person, so 5 left, 6 in total. So ma'am, just buy 3 first, and I'll give you 3 free. Isn't that reasonable? The woman nodded, then said she only had enough money to buy one, so she was about to go back and get more. But as she turned to leave, she suddenly realized something was very wrong. Du, still smiling, looked at her, bewildered for a few seconds. The woman turned back, furious, pointed directly at Du's face and yelled, damn you, you dog, what you're saying is like cursing my whole family to die. Buy 3, get 3 free? Your ancestors' coffins, you wretched scoundrel. How dare you curse my family? I'll show you. Today's your grand opening, and I'll make sure you go bankrupt. And so, Du's grand opening turned chaotic. He hadn't sold a single coffin, and the woman attacked him, beating him black and blue. Then it was revealed that his coffins were of poor quality, a few taps and they'd break. Indeed, he might truly go bankrupt the next day. Vow and the 2 young men left, placing their hands on their chests and sighing, lucky we didn't invest, otherwise we'd have gotten a beating too. At Rot and Mrs. Nat's house, both had suffered many sleepless nights due to the continuous ghostly phenomena. Times were changing. Living in the city, the couple had progressive mindsets, believing in science over ghosts and spirits. Added to that, Grandfather Dunn didn't believe in such things. So, inviting a master wasn't easy. If the old man heard, they might even get cursed out and humiliated. However, for Rot and Mrs. Nat, seeing the shadowy figure of a wandering woman in their house, appearing every now and then, was terrifying. To say they weren't scared would be a lie. Mrs. Nat had repeatedly urged her husband to invite a master to investigate, but Rot was hesitant. My father is home all day. If many masters come, he'll scold them and even chase them away, which would be embarrassing. But I'm so scared now. Or should we go ask a master first, then figure it out? That sounded reasonable, but then work kept them busy, and Mrs. Nat was also occupied. They had no time to go, so they had to think of another way. It was bedtime again. This time the couple didn't see anyone in their room, but they heard whispering from somewhere. Listening closely, Rot realized it was Hien's voice coming from her room. Hien was talking to someone. He was confused, wondering why she wasn't asleep yet. He tiptoed to the door, pressed his ear against it, and tried to listen carefully, but the faint sound wasn't clear at all. Rot couldn't bear it and quickly opened his daughter's room door. Hien was sitting at the edge of the bed. Seeing her father, she smiled and asked, Daddy, are you going to sleep with me? Rot didn't answer immediately. He looked around the room and asked, Who are you talking to, honey? Why aren't you asleep yet? I wasn't talking to anyone, Daddy. I was just about to sleep when you came in. Rot frowned. He clearly heard her talking to someone, yet she denied it. The more he asked, the more she insisted she wasn't talking to anyone. After she refused to talk about it, Rot reminded her to go to sleep and close the door, returning to his room with countless questions. As soon as he closed the door, Hien turned to her side, looked at someone, and smiled, forming words with her mouth. Don't tell, don't tell. Feeling uneasy about the ghostly phenomena in the house, Rot frankly spoke to his father. Grandfather Dunn immediately scoffed. Masters and witches? You're old enough to still believe in such nonsense. I've always said, our family worships our ancestors, but we don't believe in any masters or witches. Grandfather Dunn was so firm that Rot didn't dare say anything more, only sighing to himself. He thought that if Grandfather Dunn went out with his senior citizens club, he would invite a master to come and check, but he wasn't sure when Grandfather Dunn would be away next. For now, they had to endure it, hoping no incidents would occur. As for Hien, maybe they could send her to her maternal grandmother's house to play. But for some reason, usually, she would be so happy to hear about visiting her grandmother, but now she stubbornly refused to leave the house. Even when he took her to school, Rot tried to intentionally drive her to her grandmother's house to drop her off. Yet, as soon as he turned in that direction, she burst into tears, not normal crying, but screaming like a pig being slaughtered. Rot had no choice but to take her home. Rot knew she was having problems and that it was related to the ghostly occurrences in the house, or more specifically, the woman he had seen a few times. But who was this person haunting his family and child? So, a person who originally didn't believe in spiritual matters like Rot and rarely burned incense in the house, personally went to the altar, tidied it up, and lit incense, praying for his ancestors' protection. As the incense was burning, a gust of wind from nowhere blew in and extinguished the flames. A thick, acrid smoke wafted up, making Rot feel disheartened. His hands and feet trembled slightly. He mumbled a few more prayers, then stuck the incense and walked away. Grandfather Dunn, seeing his son's distress, seemed annoyed. He shook his head and turned back inside. But as he turned, he accidentally saw a shadowy figure standing in the corner. In the blink of an eye, it was gone. At noon, at a bus station, Vow, Oat, Soht, their wives, and 2 children were in the city. Oat stretched and yawned. "Oh, the city air, it's been so long since I could breathe freely. It feels great." Soht echoed a few phrases. Vow immediately grumbled, "Damn you 2 useless brats, aren't you going to carry the luggage? Are you just going to let an old man like me carry it alone? Aren't you ashamed?" The 2 young men snapped out of it, grabbed the luggage, and continued on their way to Mr. Com's house. Being in the city, the group had a chance to celebrate Mr. Com's achievements in life. The next morning, the whole group was busy packing up to go sightseeing around the city, visiting places they hadn't seen before. The trip was long and tiring, but everyone felt happy. Towards noon, the group passed over a bridge spanning a small lake. Oat saw a person sitting under the bridge looking utterly miserable. The person was dressed in rags, covered in dirt. Seeing this, Oat said, "Poor thing, they must be very hungry now, look, Soht." Soht looked at the man, who then spoke as people passed by. "Sir, madam, please spare a few coins for food. I'm so hungry. Please, sir, madam, a box of rice." Oat approached the man. He was gaunt, pale, surely starving. So Oat immediately ran down to buy a box of rice and brought it to him. The man thanked him profusely for the rice. Oat felt excited, having done a good deed. But in life, no one is always happy when they see someone else excited, especially Soht, who immediately dampened Oat's spirits. Soht said, "Hey, I think that guy is really hungry, but he's still a healthy man, just thin, and he can still work. If you just give him things for free like that, people will get used to it." "So what do you mean?" "Well, I heard people say it's good to help others, but don't just give them a fish. Give them a fishing rod so they can make a living and not suffer anymore, you understand?" Oat's eyes lit up as if he had just understood a profound truth. He remembered buying a box of rice earlier that contained both rice and fish. Hearing Soht, he said, "So I should give him a fishing rod, not a fish, huh?" "Yeah, that's what I heard people say." Before Soht could finish, Oat ran back to the beggar. The beggar, thin and with an empty stomach, hadn't eaten for who knows how long. He was so happy with the rice that tears welled up in his eyes. His eyes gleamed with a hopeful light. But because he was shy in front of the people who had just given him the food, he didn't dare eat yet. Then, as the beggar was holding the plastic box, about to scoop up the first bite of fish, a hand reached out from nowhere and snatched the box of rice. The beggar looked up to see the person who had given him the rice earlier, Oat, now stammering. Oat smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm sorry, giving you a box of rice with fish like this isn't right. I should have given you a fishing rod. People say you should give a fishing rod, not a fish. Do you? Do you understand?" The beggar, though poor, still understood this truth. He nodded. Oat smiled and offered his other hand, holding a fishing rod. Oat said, "Luckily, there's a lake under this bridge, so there are fish. You try to fish, okay? No need to thank me. Next time you're hungry, just bring the rod here and fish. This rod is sturdy, it'll last a long time, okay?" Oat smiled as he spoke, handing over the rod. Before the beggar could say anything, Oat took the box of rice and left. Soht, who had witnessed the whole scene, slapped himself in the face. "That idiot, damn it, Oat. If you're stupid, you should at least let him have the rice." "That's just to make you understand the meaning. Who does it like that, you black-hearted fool?" Oat, being scolded by his friend, finally realized his misunderstanding. Then, red-faced with embarrassment, he turned back and returned the box of rice to the beggar. The beggar, hearing this, also cursed in his head. Damn it, this idiot is even dumber than me and he's giving me food. Should I be as stupid as him? Ah, I'm too hungry, I'll just eat. That day's outing ended. Oat returned home, mocked endlessly by his friends. Even the wives couldn't help but laugh, but everyone agreed that Oat had a kind heart. Vow patted Oat on the shoulder and chuckled. Haha, that's my student? Oat then smiled back at everyone and peace was restored until a car drove past Mr. Com's gate. At that moment, Vow was walking outside, so he accidentally saw it. Around 5 p.m., a motorcycle drove past. There were 2 people on it, one adult and one child. A man about Mr. Com's age and a little girl about 5 years old. Vow watched the car, frowning. Why are those 2 surrounded by so much negative energy? Especially the child in the back, this isn't good. I need to find the boss and ask if anyone knows whose house that child belongs to. As Vow mumbled, Oat, who had been standing nearby, asked, "What are you doing, standing there blankly, master?" Vow replied, emphasizing one point. It seems to be a father and daughter or a grandfather and granddaughter. The father-daughter possibility is higher because the man's age is a bit too young for a grandfather. Com also came out to chat. Vow described the 2 people who had just passed by, but Mr. Com was only vaguely familiar, unable to recognize them. The house looks familiar, but this area is crowded, and Master's description is really hard to make out. But if they're heading in that direction, they definitely live around here, because that's a dead-end alley. Let me ask around, Master. Vow nodded and continued to ponder. I work in this field, and I'm a person with a conscience. A father and daughter so full of negative energy, I can't rest easy. Mr. Com, hurry and ask around so we can help them. From that day on, at Rot's house, the tension in the atmosphere grew. His daughter and wife became increasingly frightening. Today, Jiang, his eldest daughter, had returned from university to visit her parents and was also at home. The couple had 2 daughters, separated by many years because the family had been poor before. Once things stabilized, they had another child, Hien. Jiang loved her younger sister very much, so as soon as she returned, she rushed into the room to hug and cuddle her sister. However, Hien, who used to be so eager and loving, now seemed like a completely different person, distant from Jiang, even becoming violent if Jiang came too close. What terrified Jiang the most was her sister's eyes, which were always glaring up at her, and she would make strange gurgling sounds. Jiang asked, "Hien, what's wrong? It's your sister Jiang, I'm here to play with you." But Hien continued to lower her head, her round eyes glaring at her sister, grinding her teeth, looking extremely frightening. Jiang didn't dare stay there any longer and went out to ask her mother what was wrong with her sister. "Oh, lately, her temper has been like that. She's been moody, and your father and I are at our wits' end." Jiang sighed after hearing that. She said, "Let her calm down a bit later, then I'll go in and be with her." Mrs. Nat was about to stop her daughter, but then refrained because Jiang asked, and she didn't know how to explain it. She herself was worried sick about her daughter. In her heart, she was certain her child was being followed by a ghost, and that she needed to find a way to take her to a master soon. They needed to invite a master to help. The problem was Grandfather Dunn, who was difficult. If he didn't witness the thing with his own eyes, he would never believe in such matters. It turned out that the entity haunting Rot and Mrs. Nat's family was very cunning. It absolutely never let Grandfather Dunn see or hear it, because he was the only one at the moment who didn't believe in spiritual matters or ghosts. Around 9 p.m., Jiang wanted to play with her sister, so she entered the room again. Jiang was startled to find her sister wasn't there. The lights elsewhere were on, but the light in Hien's room was off and couldn't be turned back on. Jiang immediately called out, "Hien, where are you?" Then suddenly, Jiang felt dizzy. When she could see clearly again, she saw someone sitting at the head of the bed in the child-decorated room. Now, there was also an older woman sitting there. Jiang frowned, only seeing from the neck down and a bit of hair, but not the woman's face. At first, she thought it was her mother, so Jiang asked, "Mom, are you with Hien? Can I come in?" The woman didn't answer, just sat still. Jiang felt a little uneasy, not understanding what was happening. She opened her mouth to ask again when suddenly someone from behind grabbed her hand and pulled her out. Jiang was startled, almost screaming. But she realized it was Mrs. Nat. Jiang immediately widened her eyes and asked, "Mom, are you out here then?" Jiang was puzzled because she had just seen her mother sitting in her sister's room. Mrs. Nat shook her head and gestured for silence. "It's not me." Mrs. Nat pulled her daughter back to her room and said, "You saw a woman sitting in that room, didn't you?" Jiang nodded, her face full of questions. Mrs. Nat knew she couldn't hide it from her daughter, so she recounted all the events that had happened. The more Jiang listened, the more chills she felt. "So what do we do now, Mom?" "Your father and I want to invite a master to come and see, but your grandfather won't agree. Work is busy, and your sister is getting scarier every day. Your father and I are very worried, dear." Rot, hearing his wife and daughter talking, also came in. The three sat together for a while. The couple returned to their bedroom. Knowing there was a ghost in their house, Jiang was so scared she couldn't sleep all night. The next morning, Rot went to wake Hien up for breakfast and school. When he went in, he screamed when he saw the woman sitting sluggishly there. This time, he could see her face, and it was extremely terrifying. Her eyes were bloodshot, accompanied by wrinkled, sagging skin and disheveled hair, looking utterly horrifying. He slammed the door and rushed out. Seeing Mrs. Nat holding Hien's hand and witnessing his frantic state and the door he had just burst open, Mrs. Nat asked, "What did you see?" Rot was so scared he almost wet his pants, unable to stand steadily, his mouth stammering. "It's a ghost, dear. I saw her face, it was so terrifying. Oh my God, I'm going to die." Jiang ran out, hearing her parents talking, and also got scared. Grandfather Dunn, hearing the commotion, approached slowly. "What's all this noise, you two?" "There's a ghost in our house, Dad," Rot yelled, terrified at his father's question. Grandfather Dunn looked directly at his son, the pillar of the family, now limp as a noodle, and showed an expression of disdain. "Ghosts and demons? What nonsense are you talking about, you devil? You're a man, a support for your wife and children, and you're acting like a terrified coward. How pathetic." Rot trembled. "That's because you haven't seen it yet, Dad. If you saw it, I'm sure you wouldn't say that." "Seen what? What the hell have I seen?" "I've never seen a ghost or demon in my life, it's all nonsense." Grandfather Dunn was stubborn and utterly confident, his eyes judging his son. Rot believed his father was only confident because he hadn't seen the ghost yet. Grandfather Dunn then said, "So you say there's a ghost in the house? Where is this ghost or demon? Let me see if it's as scary as you say." Rot, seeing his father wouldn't believe him, pointed to Hien's room. "It's in there, Dad. Go in and see for yourself." Grandfather Dunn scoffed and casually walked inside. Before entering, he even asked Rot exactly what it looked like. Inside the closed room, the light was off, the light from the door blocked by his own body. He looked directly at the bed to see if anything was there, when suddenly his confident smile vanished as he saw a woman sitting at the edge of the bed, looking quite strange. Not only that, but from the first glance, Grandfather Dunn saw her bloodshot eyes and wrinkled, hideous face. He gasped and turned back to ask his son again to be sure. So you said there was something in this room? What was it?" "It's a ghost, Dad. Now you're asking, what does the ghost look like?" "A female ghost, red eyes, wrinkled skin, messy hair, looks terrifying. And now why do you keep asking so many questions, Dad?" Grandfather Dunn gasped and turned back inside, muttering, "Woman, red eyes, wrinkled, messy hair. Oh my God, what the hell is that in the room?" Grandfather Dunn's limbs went weak because that description wasn't just describing the woman sitting at the edge of the bed. At this point, the leader of the anti-superstition team like Grandfather Dunn also quickly turned and ran out, screaming, "Oh my God, my child, there's a ghost. Kids, save your father, save your father." Dunn rushed out and grabbed Rot. "Damn you, you scoundrel. There's a ghost in the house. Why didn't you invite a master to come and see? Were you trying to let it scare me too?" "But didn't you say you didn't believe and wouldn't let us invite a master?" "Oh, right, I forgot. Okay, you two, hurry and invite a master. I'm so scared. I almost had a heart attack and died looking at it." "Just a moment, Dad, let the child go first." "What a moment? Are you trying to let the ghost scare your father to death? And you're still saying a moment?" Scolded furiously by his father, Rot and his wife immediately got in their car and sped off. Little Hien, who had been there all along, showed no expression, just stood still, watching everything unfold. Rot and his wife left, and Grandfather Dunn went back into the room. Hien then glanced into her room, then smiled, forming words with her mouth. Jiang, approaching, saw that smile and felt a shiver down her spine. Rot and his wife drove off together. But where to go now? They didn't know any skilled masters. Just then they drove past Com's house again. Vow, seeing the man's face, quickly rushed out. Even though the motorcycle was slow, he couldn't catch up. So he shouted to Oat and Soht to chase after them and call them back. Rot and his wife, not knowing where to go, heard shouting from behind and turned around. "What is it?" Rot asked, confused. Mrs. Nat quickly patted his shoulder. She was easily scared, and seeing the two strange men, Oat and Soht, looking sly, she quickly assumed they had bad intentions and urged Rot to speed up. Drive faster, honey. I think they're robbers. Damn it, robbers have come all the way here, honey. Rot, hearing that, panicked and sped off as white as a ghost. Damn it, what kind of day is it that we encounter robbers too? The two fools, Oat and Soht, ran to where they needed to stop them, but the car sped off. Hey, come back here. My master needs to meet you too. Rot, terrified, sped off, his fear overwhelming, but he still managed to hear what Oat said behind him, which made Mrs. Gnat unexpectedly lurch forward. Oh, what's wrong with these two men? Hurry up and run, they're robbers. No, I just heard him mention a master. Could it be? Mrs. Gnat also started to ponder. Just then, Oat and Soht ran up. Where are you two going in such a hurry? Are you being chased by ghosts? So, who are you two? Why are you chasing us? It's complicated. We were told to chase after you two and call you back. Master said that yesterday, you, sir, and your daughter or granddaughter were surrounded by negative energy, and he wants to help but doesn't know where you live. Luckily, we saw you again today. Rot and Mrs. Gnat's eyes lit up. They looked at each other joyfully. They were immediately happy because they themselves were looking for a master, and it had to be a skilled, genuine master. Before even knowing who they were or having a conversation, the master already knew the couple had problems, so they thought their family might be saved. The couple turned their car around and returned to where they had seen an elderly man, about Grandfather Dun's age. They respectfully greeted him. Vow introduced himself and explained why he had called them back. Mrs. Gnat, hearing this, was overjoyed and said, "Then our family is deeply grateful to you, master. Indeed, my husband and I are looking for a master, but don't know whom to find. You don't even know who we are, yet you know our family has problems, so you truly are a great master and so compassionate and virtuous." Oat, seeing his master praised, puffed out his chest, adding, "You're too kind, ma'am. Our master is the head of the ghost-hunting, demon-exterminating team." "Ghost hunting? What? This idiot is a bit slow-witted, ma'am, don't mind him." Then Vow turned to glare at Oat. "Damn you, why don't you keep quiet, you idiot?" Oat had slipped up because he was too happy. Rot and his wife were about to kneel to thank the master but were stopped. A moment later, the five of them arrived at Rot's house. Rot happily told his father, Dad, I've invited a master. He's very good at exterminating ghosts and demons." Grandfather Dun walked out to greet Vow, but Vow quickly stopped him. "Please, madam, you don't need to do that. You are older than me." Outside, the atmosphere seemed to ease. Inside the room, Hien sat at the edge of the bed and turned to her side. "New people are here. They want to chase you and me away, but we're not going anywhere, okay?" The little girl's voice grew increasingly eerie and ghostly, as if it belonged to someone else. Then she turned outwards, her eyes rolled back, showing only the whites, and she said, "You fake master, I'll show you how powerful I am, you'll be scared to death." This ghost was quite intelligent, but perhaps it was her first time being a ghost, so she lacked experience. She couldn't help but reveal herself, letting Grandfather Dun see her, and she didn't recognize Vow, who was highly skilled. Vow had always acted with caution. Ordinary ghosts and demons he wouldn't destroy right away. Oat and Soht went to hide talismans in the corners of the house to prevent the ghost from escaping. Vow still couldn't recall the spirit because he didn't know what kind of ghost or even demon it was, so Vow told Rot and his wife to bring Hien out. At that, the little girl screamed loudly and adamantly refused, but Vow said they had to restrain her at all costs. Mrs. Gnat, heartbroken for her child, immediately asked, Master, what's wrong with my child? She's so young. I've come across things that adults can't see. It's possible she's compatible with the spirit, so a wandering ghost has attached itself to her, using her to move around the house easily. Or perhaps the child is possessed by a spirit. Yes, that could also be it. Luckily, we found out in time. If her vital energy had been drained for a while longer, she couldn't have been saved. The couple and Grandfather Dun all felt their limbs go weak after hearing that. Grandfather Dun blamed himself for having scoffed at the idea, almost leading to the child's demise. But Vow comforted him, saying it wasn't his fault, but that the area was too full of evil. Vow took out some small, round, candy-like pills and placed several on the altar in the house. Oat, seeing this, grabbed one, craving something sweet. Seeing it looked like candy, he popped it into his mouth. "What kind of candy is this, master? It looks cool." "Candy, my ass. This is a new type of evil-repelling medicine I invented. As soon as all the negative energy is gone, it will be suppressed. It also contains a calming spell from herbal medicine. Spit it out." "Oh, why didn't you say so sooner, you old fool? What the hell are you doing? You almost gave me a heart attack." After that, he told Rot to give the child the rest of the pills. The child, who had been struggling in his arms, immediately calmed down, slowly drifting into a deep sleep. Vow continued to instruct them. Go and boil some tea leaves, add a little ginger and white salt, bathe her, then let the child eat and sleep in that other room, the one with the least negative energy. Vow pointed to Jiang's room, saying that room had very little negative energy. Next, he took Soht with him, because Oat had already collapsed and was snoring. After a quick look around, Vow determined that the negative energy was coming from the family's restroom and bathroom area. He found the source of the strong negative energy, but he had to wait until night and prepare some items. So, for now, Vow told everyone to rest and prepare a few things for him. Indeed, with a master in the house, Rot's family no longer saw the shadowy figure of that woman appear. Vow asked about the restroom area and was told, "Well, master, our family was poor before. Now, in the city, we're still kind of backward because the old-style toilet wasn't very clean, so it had to be built far away. In recent years, our family is better off, so we invested in building a restroom and bathroom connected to the main house for convenience." "Master, are you asking because that's where the problem is?" Vow nodded. "So that's how it is. I've encountered similar situations before. The homeowner built a restroom exactly where someone had died and was laid to rest. After that, they immediately encountered misfortune. Their business declined, and family members fell ill for no clear reason, sometimes even dying." Rot's entire family shivered. Rot then continued, "Good heavens, that's terrifying if that's the case. Our house has been on this plot of land for many years, so it's a mistake that we only discovered this today. It must be because we built the restroom right where someone was buried. But when we dug the foundation, we didn't find anything, and it's been 5 years now, so why is it a problem now?" Vow nodded, acknowledging Rot's questions. Vow then added, "It could be that the remains were buried deeper than the house's foundation, so they weren't found. As for why it's only a problem after 5 years, I can explain, but everyone, please remain calm." Everyone held their breath. Vow then said, "I believe the spirit of that person has only appeared today because the burial site had a seal. To be clear, someone buried the body and then placed a seal to contain the soul of the deceased. Your family, by building the restroom, accidentally broke the seal. But even if it's broken, if a highly skilled sorcerer made the seal, it can still be effective for quite a long time. That's why it's only appearing now." Rot's eyes widened. "So, someone might have killed someone and buried them on my land." "No, based on how everyone is talking, I think this land was originally bought from someone else, but a very long time ago. Is that right?" Grandfather Dunn immediately nodded. "Yes, that's right. Back then, our family was poor. Owning this piece of land in the city to build a house was impossible, so they sold it to my wife and me very cheaply, practically giving it away. I didn't think much of it and immediately bought it and built the house. After that, our children's business grew and we built this house. Now, even the auxiliary structures in the back have been fine for many years, so we felt safe." Vow then nodded. "So, it's clear. The seller definitely had a hidden reason to sell it so cheaply. Tonight, I will investigate the situation." That night after dinner, Vow went to the restroom for a moment. In a dark corner, a shadowy figure appeared, smirking. "You fake master, I'll show you how powerful I am, you'll die, you old fool." Vow came out of the house and entered the room. The lights began to flicker on and off. The ghost appeared in its terrifying form. Every time the light came on, it disappeared. A chilling sound like rushing wind filled the room through the window. The atmosphere grew gloomy, the lights went off again, and the ghost reappeared. Vow stood still, his face calm. The ghost, seeing him like that, thought to itself, "Is this old man so scared he's about to pee his pants? Who told you to come here and mess with my business?" The ghost only knew that Vow was skilled, so it wasn't caught by Oat. It assumed Vow had no special abilities, so it was very confident. It then appeared right in front of Vow, an arm's length away. The ghost still thought, "This time, I'll scare you to death." The figure of the middle-aged woman appeared, smirking. But before she could even smile or utter a sound, Vow swung his hand and slapped her hard across the face. The slap was like a thunderbolt from the sky, making her dizzy and spin like a child's top. Before she could stop, her head was throbbing, unable to comprehend what had happened. She looked at Vow, stammering, You. Before she could finish, Vow slapped her again. Now she realized she had provoked a powerful entity. Vow then scolded, "Damn you, ghost and demon, are you trying to scare me? Get out of here right now, or I'll beat you into oblivion." The ghost immediately nodded frantically. It desperately rushed out of the house, as if being chased, but was unable to leave, trapped by the talismans. Now, it truly understood that this master was not simple. In fact, the ghost itself was just a mere spirit that Vow could manipulate. Vow didn't catch it immediately because catching a ghost was easy, but dealing with the lingering resentment afterward was difficult. At 11 p.m., Oat and Soht were called to prepare. Oat was instructed in the restroom. Vow explained in detail the incense, the correct incantation which he had meticulously taught them. Oat nodded repeatedly, went into the room, and closed the door. At the exact time, the lights were turned off. Vow and Soht outside prepared to assist. The final stage was about to begin. "Oat, are you done yet? You're taking forever." Vow immediately frowned. Soht also hurried and knocked on the door. "Damn you, what are you doing in there? Are you messing around?" From inside, Oat's voice echoed, accompanied by a faint sound and a distinctive smell. "Oh my God, my stomach, what's happening? Why does my stomach suddenly hurt so much? I'm taking care of it." Vow was annoyed and completely exasperated. "Whatever you're doing, light the incense, you devil. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death right there." Oat was also startled, but being in that position, it was difficult to speak. After much effort, the incense finally lit. Outside, Vow chanted the incantation in a low voice, while Oat inside also pinched his nose and chanted the incantation, furious all evening. Then, when the incantation was completed, the incense started to sway slightly. The difficult part began as a strange smoke, not from the incense, began to intertwine with the smoke from the outside, seeping in through the gap under the door. At that moment, the spirit of the woman who had been buried appeared. As the ghost appeared, it smirked and spoke to itself. "Who dares to provoke me? Come on!" While showing off its ghostly powers, the woman suddenly smelled a foul odor. "Damn it, what's that terrible smell?" Oat, who could hear, looked at the female ghost, his face red with embarrassment. He said, "You're here, huh? Please bear with me a little. I ate too much and my stomach hurts, I can't hold it in." The ghost turned to look at Oat, who was taking care of business, and suddenly gagged and almost vomited. "Damn him, he's shitting and he still calls people up. How disgusting." At that moment, Oat let out a loud fart, making the atmosphere even more suffocating. The woman wanted to rush out, but as soon as she touched the door, she was repelled backward. What's happening?" the ghost screamed in terror. Outside, Vow smirked, taking advantage of this opportunity to force the spirit to surrender. "You ghost, do you know what sins you have committed? Why are you haunting people in this house? Did you harm anyone?" The ghost replied no, but because it had been trapped for so long, its sanity had almost completely vanished. It spoke erratically, indeed losing control, and began cursing and demanding to be let out. Vow then said, "If you surrender, I'll let you out. Otherwise, you can stay in there and enjoy it with him." The spirit's face changed drastically. It turned to look at Oat, who was still letting out another loud fart, and continued to blurt out, "Damn you, what did you eat that smells so bad? You dog, be ashamed. Why are you like this? I don't know, just surrender. My stomach is heavy, there's still a lot in there." The ghost, seeing this, felt chills down its spine and wished to escape from this place immediately. Being a clean freak, she couldn't stand being there like this. She immediately surrendered and pleaded with the master, "Please, master, let me out. I'll die in here. I'll become a female ghost again." The female ghost had surrendered. Vow chanted the incantation to release her so she could pass through the door and leave. The woman's face was now pale white as she emerged from the wall where Oat was still sitting. Vow then said, "I have let you out. Now you must obediently follow me and tell me why you are here, scaring this family." The woman agreed and answered each question Vow asked. The woman's story was gradually revealed. This woman was originally a servant for the family who had sold the land to Grandfather Dunn. Back then, they accidentally pushed her, causing her to hit her head and die. Her body was then buried here. After that, they sold the house and left, but also placed a seal to prevent her soul from reincarnating. When she escaped the seal, this family's aura was compatible, so she appeared to haunt them. Her greed gradually grew when she saw Hien's vital energy. Rot then asked, "So why do you always sit at the head of the bed whenever you appear?" The woman's face was sad and ashamed as she replied, "Because back then I worked for those people and they were very harsh. I had to stand all day and wasn't allowed to rest, so my hands and feet hurt. One time I asked for a break and they cursed me, saying I was insolent, and we argued. Then they pushed me, I fell, and accidentally died. They buried me here to cover up the crime. I used to sit there and saw how peaceful the bed was, so I liked it." The entire group listened, their mouths agape, then slapped themselves in the face. The woman's spirit then timidly said, "Oh my God, master, I don't like sitting there peacefully anymore, okay?" After hearing the story, everyone felt more sympathy than blame. It was lucky that Vow appeared to help. Otherwise, this vengeful spirit would truly turn into a demon soon, and the consequences would be unimaginable. The woman also bowed in gratitude and agreed to follow the master to resolve her karma. The next morning, Rot, despite being the head of the family, personally dug the foundation under the restroom. After a while, he discovered traces of someone who had been buried there. Only a few bone fragments and tattered clothes remained, enough for the police to reopen an old case. The female servant had lived alone with no relatives, so her disappearance had gone unnoticed. But after the remains were found, the people who had committed the crime that year were quickly found and brought to justice. After many days in the city, Vow's group also returned to their hometown, enjoying the peaceful feeling there. That afternoon, Oat drove a luxury car to pick up Vow. "Master, hurry up, I've been waiting too long, there's something amazing I want to show you." Vow got into the car. Oat hit a pothole. Vow's bottom bounced up and he yelled, "Damn you, go slowly, my bottom hurts." Oat continued to speed off, ignoring his beloved master. At a turn, he lost control and slammed the car into a tree by the side of the road. The old Vow, with his brittle bones, fell even harder, so he winced and rolled around for a while before he could sit up. He looked at the reckless young man and scolded him like an old hag. "Damn you, I told you to go slowly, didn't I? Why didn't you listen? We crashed into that tree again. Such a big tree and you didn't see it. Are your eyes for decoration or something? Why didn't you swerve?" Oat also winced in pain, almost crying. He glanced at the tree, bewildered, then turned to Vow and said, "What are you talking about, master? My eyes are perfectly normal. The tree grew out of nowhere while I wasn't paying attention. It's not like I deliberately crashed into it." Vow's eyes bulged as he looked at the foolish young man, then he opened his mouth and said, "It's that difficult and you can't even think of that." Oat forced a smile. The two had to help each other and push the car home, abandoning their plan to go see whatever it was. Several days later, a rumor gradually spread about a type of leaf that grew abundantly in the forest. This leaf had some special medicinal properties and was being bought by merchants at high prices, becoming increasingly valuable. Oat and Soht saw this as an opportunity to get rich and even tried to convince Vow. "Master, master, invest with us. This trip will make us rich. We'll have plenty of money to drink." Vow, who had painstakingly saved a small amount of money, was afraid of losing it, so he didn't participate. Oat and Soht then judged. "He wants money, but he's a coward. Oh well, never mind, master." Seeing the potential profit, the villagers also rushed into the forest to pick the leaves to sell. Oat and Soht then tried to collect and resell them to the merchants at a higher price. When they made a profit, the two went around the village, announcing, "Everyone, if you have these leaves, sell them to us. We'll buy them at a high price." The villagers enthusiastically agreed because they believed the leaves would fetch high prices, but there was a limit to the quantity. Not all would be bought. Seeing the two willing to buy at a slightly lower price than Oat and Soht's initial price, the villagers agreed. After that, Oat and Soht became like a warehouse, storing all the collected leaves from the forest, just waiting for the merchant to arrive the next day to sell. This place now held almost all the leaves the villagers had gathered, and there were almost no more leaves left in the forest. At first glance, this leaf resembled a type called Hien in some regions because the surface of the leaf had a shimmering quality. Vow came to see Oat and Soht, saying, "Master, you didn't join us, so don't regret it later, okay?" Vow did feel a little regretful, but it was too late to join now. He was afraid of losing face, so he just let it go. The two young men were confident they would make a killing this trip. However, the next day, they waited and waited, but no merchant came to collect the leaves. The two went around tirelessly until they found a merchant, so they stopped their car and said, "Ma'am, are you looking to buy leaves? Hurry to our house. There are so many there, you can buy as much as you want. We're selling them cheaper than usual. Hurry, ma'am." The merchant looked at the two and replied, "What leaves? Get out of my way. Those are Kim Tien leaves, what else?" "I swear, ma'am, we bought all of them from the villagers. You won't find them anywhere else, no matter how hard you look. Hurry and come see." Despite the merchant shaking his head, the two young men still dragged him along. When the merchant saw that the house was filled with leaves, he was startled and bewildered looking at the two. "Where did all these leaves come from?" Oat then smacked his lips. "I told you, sir, we bought all of them. If you want to buy, I'll give you a good price. But if you don't buy today and someone else buys them, don't regret it." The merchant stammered and scratched his head. "But these aren't Kim Tien leaves, they just look similar. I bought some before and tried to sell them and people said they weren't. No one buys them anymore." Oat and Soht gasped in shock. What? These are clearly Hien leaves. Look, they shimmer like this. The merchant then clicked his tongue and smacked his lips. Oh, they do look similar, but they're not. Look, I have a real Hien leaf here. Let me show you. The merchant took out a Hien leaf. It shimmered and was eye-catching. Soht saw that they looked similar but had clear differences. The leaves the villagers had picked were just ordinary weeds from the forest. The merchant then smacked his lips. Oh dear, this leaf is very precious and rare, not common at all. And the quantity is also small. People spend all day picking and only get a few handfuls. How could you boys have so much? Merchants also lacked experience, so we mistook them before and lost a lot of money. No one buys them anymore, only leaves like this. The merchant pointed to the real Hien leaf he held in his hand. Will be bought. Soht stammered. Only a few handfuls a day? The merchant nodded. Soht looked at the pile of leaves in the house, utterly horrified, but this wasn't the worst of it. Looking at the mountain of leaves filling the house, Soht gradually felt his limbs go numb. Oh my God, Mom. Help me, Mom. As he finished speaking, Oat collapsed to the ground, his eyes rolled back. The merchant said goodbye and left. Oat and Soht's faces were drained of color, and when their wives heard the news, they immediately became enraged. Damn you too! How much money did you have in the house that you gathered it all? You bought forest weeds to bring such misfortune to my house, you wretched scoundrels. Give me back my money. What did you eat that made you so stupid? Oat and Soht could only cry profusely. Finally, the three of them, Oat, Soht, and Old Man Do, gathered together. The three young entrepreneurs sat watching the sunset, their faces contemplative, as if they had just realized the truth of life. As the sunset cast its glow, the three looked at each other with quiet understanding, without needing to say a word. After a while, a successful startup association was formed, but it was a failure. Vow came over, patted the two young men on the shoulder, and comforted them. It's okay. If you fail, just try again. Oat, with tears in his eyes, said, Master, if you don't invest, you won't understand. Vow then turned and said, That's right, Master, you have to invest to understand. We failed, and then people curse at us. Damn it, such a great promotion. If they didn't buy, fine, but they curse at us for being unethical. Vow tried to console Old Man Do. So, what about those coffins now? Well, we threw them away, Master. We managed to sell one or two, but Master, do you want to buy them? Buy one, get one free, Master. Vow heard that and became furious. Damn you, old man, are you trying to curse me to death? Old Man Do gasped in shock. Oh my God, Master, I'm sorry. You asked and I got flustered, so I misspoke. The four of them talked until late that night, then split up. That night, they planned to go to Old Woman Ten's house to steal a bunch of bananas. At the appointed time that night, the three stealthily slipped out again, gathering and heading towards Old Woman Ten's house. Her house had no fence, so it was easy to get in. The three carefully approached the banana bunch and pulled it down. Kai wasn't at home but followed them. Vow was annoyed and whispered, Chase it away. What are you doing? Go home and check if there's any place to hide. Kai ran off somewhere else, but instead of going home, it ran towards some dense bushes, which were common in the countryside near houses. It seemed that in previous times, Kai had carried a beehive and gotten stung, but it still hadn't learned its lesson. It ran off to search again. Meanwhile, Old Woman 10, after much effort, finally managed to bring down the banana bunch, though it was quite difficult because they didn't want the old tree to make a sound while stealing. Oat, the strongest, carried the banana bunch on his shoulder and walked last. The other two signaled to go home, but after walking a short distance and not seeing Oat, they quietly called out, Let's go, hurry up. What are you standing there for? Oat was also about to go, but he heard a rustling sound accompanied by a buzzing behind him, so he turned around. Standing near him was Kai, still struggling to pull something out, something heavy that Oat couldn't clearly see yet. Oat squinted for 5 seconds and began to realize what the dog was holding in its mouth. Oat swallowed hard, only able to stand still, looking back and forth, signaling his teammates to go ahead, but the other two didn't understand. So Oat stood there. Vow and Soht were annoyed. Vow said, Go see what's wrong with him. Is it too heavy for him to carry? Soht smacked his lips, then approached and asked, What's wrong with you? Hurry and go home, don't cause trouble here. Before he could finish, Soht froze when he saw Kai and what it was holding in its mouth. Also, there was something buzzing in front of them, not just one but many. He stammered, Not again? Oat swallowed and nodded, Yeah. Then hurry up and go, what are you doing here? You don't want to talk and get caught, do you? Vow, seeing Oat standing still, flushed with anger and was about to go over and scold him, but before he could do anything, something small flew into his mouth. Vow reached out to grab it and realized it was a bee, just like the one from before. The painful memory made Vow jump and look at his two subordinates. "It's happening again, you two?" The two fools nodded. All three looked at each other, signaling each other. Oat grabbed a few bananas and threw them away. All three grabbed their belongings, threw away the banana bunch, and ran for their lives, but this time they were sure to get stung again. Old Woman 10, who was sleeping peacefully, immediately rushed out of the house, yelling, "Damn it, who is it? Who's stealing from my house?" The three men ran so fast that she couldn't catch up. She looked at the banana bunch lying there, only a few bananas missing, so she decided to carry it back inside. "My dear bananas, I'm sorry, I'll carry you in." Before she could pick up the banana bunch, she again heard a buzzing sound, making her stare blankly around. She saw something round and dark on the ground, so she groped to check it. Her eyes were blurry, and she didn't recognize the buzzing sound, so she didn't take any precautions. What fell here? She got closer and reached out to pick up the object, realizing it was a beehive. Old Woman 10 then screamed loudly, "Oh my God, my parents, they threw a beehive here." She tried to run, but then there was only the sound of her collapsing, screaming desperately. "Damn it, who brought bees to my house? Damn you, you wretched scoundrels. Oh my God, it hurts so much, it's killing me. Oh my parents, just one sting would be fine, but why does it sting so hard all over my body? Oh my God."